Hi everybody, Peg here for Card Culture. This is the second in a series about making your own greeting cards. So I hope you join me. This is all a teaching instructional type of video. If you want to fast forward to parts of it, I'm fine with that. I just want to help those people out there who have never done these sorts of things or need some assistance. So here we go. Hi everybody, Peg here, and today I am going to talk to you in the second of my series on card culture. Today I want to talk to you mostly about water-based inks and what you can do with them. I also want to talk to you about the surfaces that you're working on. As you can see, I have 3 different test samples here. It's important to know what surface you're working on. The 3 that I have out in front of me here contain, let's see, this one is a premium gloss paper from Hewlett Packard. It's just a photo paper, very thin, very plasticized, but it's something that I picked up in a garage sale and I can use it to make art with. I also have some, this is a gloss paper. This one happens to be from close to my heart, but any number of companies make these. Judikins was one of the first ones that I bought from. Also, Ranger, any number of companies make a gloss white paper, and that just means that it's coated. This is a coated surface, and it has a glossy finish on it so that it does not absorb the paper as easily as a matte or a regular cardstock. Then I also have, let's see, which one is this? This is the specialty stamping paper from Ranger. It is a matte coated cardstock. And what that means is it doesn't have the glossy finish on it. It's a matte finish. So if you prefer a matte to a gloss finish, this is one that you would be looking for. So I have a lot of different papers because I've done this over the years. And I just want to give you an example of what this looks like. Now, one of the oldest, I don't even know if I've had these forever. I don't even know if these are still wet. I'm going to give them a try. These are stamp pads that have a variegated rainbow effect. And you can create this just with your own inks, but I have these in my stash, so I'm going to see if these are still wet enough to use. I've had these for years, guys. I'm telling you, I've had them for years. And I'm going to use a brayer. And when you use a brayer, you just want to go in one direction, pick up your ink color like this. And okay, so I'm going to move one of these aside, or a couple of these aside, and work on just one at a time. This is the matte coat paper, and I'm just going to brayer that color down. Going back and forth, and this is a really old technique. It's been around forever. You just want to go one direction. And you see what's happening up here in the corner? That's because I put a little piece of tape under there just to keep it from moving all over the place. So I'm going to take that out of there because I want color there. And, you can keep going back, making this thick. I want to see if there's any pink over here. It was supposed to be a pink and yellow, but they, the colors on these pads kind of migrate after a while. There's some green in there. So I think the pink has kind of migrated into the blue, which is, red and blue and yellow. We're on this pad, but you can see what has happened here. It's migrated. And you can see I can get various colors moving across my page with a brayer. All right. Gonna go next to, this is the Ranger, which one is this? No, this is the gloss paper. And I'm going to continue with the same pad even if it isn't working out really well, because what I want to do is give you a comparison. So we're going to use the same inks. Just to give you a comparison between the papers. And the lines on there are from the brayer. My brayer is not perfectly flat because I've used it for all kinds of things. If you get a brayer, you want to store it like this so that the round piece does not get flat spots on it. Yeah, didn't learn that right away, did I? But you want to continue to blend that out with your brayer. And it's not about pressure, it's more about getting the ink on and blending it out across the page. I got a line in there which is driving me nuts. So I'm trying to get rid of that line just by blending it out with the color. Same thing on this one. I've got a little bit of a line. So I'm going to go back in. Blend that out a little bit. See where I set that down? You can offload a little bit before you go to your paper, or you miss those lines by coming at it from the edge instead of, you know, going right on the paper. If you come at it from the edge, you won't have lines like that. So, all right. So there's 2 of the 3. All right. And now let's do the third one. This is that really thin, you hear that? Really thin photo paper. And we'll do the same thing with it. So I'm just going to load up my brayer, come at it from the side, move across the page. And there's some marks on my craft sheet underneath. I would typically be doing this right on the glass, but because we're doing a video, it would reflect too much. So I've got this damaged mat under here. So it's picking up these little goobers from my mat. You won't have that if you have a nice clean surface underneath. Just saying, you won't have that. So you can see it will ink up, but it does not take the ink quite as well as those other 2 because it's photo paper. It's not meant for this type of ink. It's meant for photo ink. So I have to put a lot more ink down on here to get it to darken up. It's a pretty effect, but it's not rich and vibrant like those other 2 papers. Plus it's really thin. Okay, so if you like that look, that's okay. So this is the gloss coat. Can you see the gloss? This is the matte coat. See, there's not nearly the shine on the matte coat. And then this is the photo paper. So that's telling you the differences in the paper. Now, let me clean this up. And I'm gonna spritz this ink because it's a water-based ink, right? And because it's a water-based ink, I can utilize that ink because it's on my craft sheet. So I'm going to grab, this is some Nina cardstock, just regular cardstock. And I'm just going to, I think I'm going to add a little bit of other color to this too once I get this going. You see how I have the start of something here? That's when I'll do more of a mop up. Okay, so that's just mopping up the ink that I've got down here on my desk. If I use a baby wipe to clean it up with, you can even save those baby wipes and put them onto something later, because it will be colorful. It will be full of that ink. So I'm going to, what you want to do when you do this, you want to remember to dry in between, because you see what's happening is the water has made this curl. So I'm just going to grab a heat tool and I'm going to dry it quickly. So these papers are dry now, and yes, they are a little bit wrinkled because you had water on them. Don't let that concern you, because we're going to glue these down onto a card front. So they are going to flatten out. You can also, reshape your paper and it will be fine. But I have these pieces here, and because I was just doing a mop up and I had that ink. Now don't be confused. This is an Adirondack dye ink pad. There are what we used to call Adirondack ink pads like this that are archival, that are not well, they're waterproof, not water-based. So this is not the same as this, all right? Just telling you, they're not the same thing. So be sure and read the information on the back of your pads. This says it is a dye-based ink. It is fade resistant, and it will dry on all types of paper. So it's a good ink. It's just that it moves with water. So because it moves with water and because I like that effect, I'm going to put some more of this. This is a butterscotch color. I'm going to put some of this down. And I'm also going to combine it. Oh, I can take the lid off of this just by doing that. I'm also going to combine it with some distress ink. So there's my butterscotch. And yeah, and the lid will pop right back on here, just like so. All right. And let's see, I have some browns. I have a brush corduroy. This vintage photo, I think, has a little bit too much red in it for me, as does the tea dye. So I think I'm going to grab the brush corduroy. I'm going to add a little bit of that brush corduroy in here. And I'm going to spritz that with water, because I want those water droplets on my paper. Here's my paper that has the blue, and I'm just going to lightly pick up some of those colors on here, and then I need to dry. So I have a lot of goodness right here on my desk that I want to mop up, and I'm just going to do that. And you've probably seen people do this a million times. If you haven't tried it, please try it, because you'll have a lot of fun doing it. It just creates the best backgrounds. So we're going to dry. So now I have kind of a blue-brown thing going on here with a little bit of yellow mixed in, and I like that. And I don't have to dry it all the way. I can get it to this point. I see that there's a lot of yellow right there. So I may want to see if there's a little bit of brown left in here that I can smack on there. Get some more water droplet things going on. Okay, so that's dry enough. I'm going to take a rag and just wipe this off. Now I want to add another color, so I'm going to grab this cranberry. Now you notice this is not a quote-unquote distress ink, but it will do the same sort of things for you. So I'm going to grab a cranberry. So if you have dye inks, try this with the inks that you have, because it's going to bead up. See how it's beading up? So I just want to, add a little bit of that cranberry in on here. And can you see what I got going on? I have the primaries. I have the red, yellow, blue primaries on here. And that's what I'm looking for. I want the contrast between these. Okay, and while it's like this, I'm going to come back and I'm going to spritz my hand, and I'm going to put some water droplets on here just to give it a little more interest. And let's see, I need a paper towel. So I'm going to grab my roll of paper towel, and I'm just going to roll across here. Pick up some of that color. And then I'm going to heat set. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm building backgrounds for my cards. And this is real easy to do just with dye-based inks. And you can see I have a variety of papers here. They all are going to work to do this sort of thing. You see the dimpling on my paper from the water. That's okay. We're just going to dry it. And we'll be back. Okay, so while this is pretty, it's not the end product because we are making backgrounds, right? So when I make backgrounds, I have a little box. It has, all this kind of stuff. You probably have other stamps and things, but I like to dig in here because these are standard things. A script, textural stamp, letters and words, this type of thing that I use over and over again when I'm creating backgrounds. Here's a piece of, I don't know, some kind of hot mat or something. So these are the things that I use over and over again to create backgrounds. So let's just start with this. And I'm going to continue with the same colors that I've been using here. Here's that brush corduroy distress ink. And I'm just going to, not even worry about the whole thing. I'm just going to ink this, and I'm going to start layering some stuff on here. And you can do second generation, because that's pretty too. Doesn't have to be a complete. What you're doing is something that's suggestive of some script. So can you see how much that adds to the background? That was script. Let's do this one with something that's grungy. So let me just grab this one. It's got looks like it's been weathered and outside, right? So let's add that. What else do I have here? I've got dots. Here's some dots. Let's do some of these dots. And that needs something in addition to that. So here's another, this is a Finnebear kind of scripty thing. Let me get some, oh, that's upside down, whatever. It's all right. It's all good. So there's that. Okay, so we've got one more like this. Let's go to this script. I'm going to just very lightly add some of that into the background. And we'll do the same thing on here. Start over with this one. You know, there is no right or wrong. It's all about getting the texture and the motion. You see that? Okay, that's one. Let's do this one with the other script. And a little bit of grungy. And let's see, what have I got? I got this one that looks kind of like peeling paint. Let's do some peeling paint. And maybe a little more texture with this. Okay, so that's the stamping. I can wipe these off. You can see I've used them with all kinds of mediums. They're fine. You clean them off, you put them back in the box. And I think I want a few of these, but I don't want it that pronounced, so I'm just going to do a second generation on there like that. So there's that. All right. So that's my box of everyday stamps. And once again, I have kind of a messy top to my table, so I'm just going to spritz and wipe that down because it's water-based. It cleans up really easily. And then I have my blending tools. And what I want to do with these is when you do a background, you want to make something focal on your card or whatever it is you're making. So I'm just going to grab these pieces. And I have a glass mat on my table. I also have this craft mat. The craft mat is mostly so that I'm not glaring at the camera when I do this. But a glass mat is really good. Now, I know they sell expensive ones. They're like 40 bucks or something. This is one that I got out of a salvage place. It's just glass. It's a thick plate glass that I picked up. It's got a rolled edge, so it's not going to cut me. If you didn't have a rolled edge, you could just put some masking tape down on the edge. But I like to work on the glass. So I'm just going to, grab my blendy tool and come in on here and kind of grunge up that edge with my ink blender. So you can see how that makes a difference to the overall appearance. So I'm just going to continue to do that. Because this paper is really thin, I'm having a hard time getting it to blend out. So that's those three. I will come into this. and we'll continue on. So for one last layer of color on these backgrounds, what I like to do is to add a little spritz of water so that you get this water drop effect. So how you do that is you just take your piece. This is an old trick. People have been doing it for years and years. You put a little bit of squirt of water in your hand and you just sprinkle it down onto your page so that you get a water drop. Can you see the water drops? They're formulating here. Okay. And then I'm just going to dry that up. Move on to the next ones. Okay, so all I'm doing is creating cards out of these backgrounds. Now you can see I have a whole bunch of stuff out here on my desk. There is no right or wrong to this. What I did was I took these backs and put some double stick tape on them, and that's going to hold it down flat to your card. If they still have a little bit of curling issues, then what you can do is put them under something heavy and let them sit. It'll flatten out. It'll flatten out. And then I just take a card base. Here's the card base. And I'm just going to line that up with my card base. Maybe. Do the best I can here. And okay, so there's the background for my card. And then I can start to layer things on here. You know, I can add lace. I can add, this is a little cutout from a, what do they call those? Calendar. So, I mean, I can add all of these things on the front and make a cute little greeting card very easily. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you come back and play with my card culture ideas again. We will have more of these coming out. This is just the second in the series, and I'll see you guys again soon. So